Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Don from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And the next time you need a part for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to replace a knock sensor on this 2002 Chevy Suburban with the 5.3 liter engine. And it's the same part and similar process on these Suburbans from 2000 to 2005. And the items you'll need is a new knock sensor from 1AAuto.com, flat blade screwdriver, 8, 10, and 22 millimeter socket and ratchet with an extension, fuel line disconnect tool, in this case a 3/8 inch, pliers, vacuum, penetrating fluid, and a torque wrench. Start off by removing the 8 millimeter bolt that holds on your engine cover. And that pulls free. And then using a flat blade screwdriver, just loosen up this hose clamp right here and this hose clamp right over here. Now you can pull the hose free. Pull it free from this side. And then just lift it up and pry out the hose from the intake hose. And then it's free. Now remove these 3 8 millimeter bolts right here, and we'll fast forward as Don does that. And now remove these 3 8 millimeter bolts right here. Next, disconnect these 2 harnesses. To do that, you just pull up on the tab and pull them free. Then pry this hose right here free. And then remove these 3 10 millimeter nuts. Lift up this bracket and pull it aside. And then remove this 8 millimeter bolt right here. And then just pull that bracket aside. And then disconnect this hose clamp. And do the same thing back here with this one. You want to make sure you disconnect that harness as well. Pull that aside. Do the same thing back here until this set of harnesses loosens up. And then just remove this 10 millimeter nut right here. And then you can just pull that set of harnesses aside. And then pull up the clip on the harness for your fuel injector, and then push the tab on the harness and disconnect it, and repeat the process for the other 7. Now just loosen up this fuel line cap. And then using a flat blade screwdriver and a rag, you want to just put the rag over it, push the tab on the fuel bleeder, and it should spray out just a little bit. It'll release the pressure, replace the cap, and come over here and just pry off this clip. And then using a fuel line separator tool, you just want to push that all the way in. And for this one it's a 3/8 inch. And then once that's pushed all the way in, you can pull the fuel line free. And then it just pulls off. And you put it on the fuel line below it. And repeat the same process. Take a pair of pliers and push the teeth together on this hose clamp and slide it down the hose. And then pull the hose free. And then just remove this series of 10mm bolts along each side of your intake manifold. You can kind of see them, they're down below the fuel rail there. And we'll just fast forward as Dawn removes these. Lift your intake manifold up and out, and you will have to maneuver a lot of harnesses and wires and everything, but you just want to get this out as far as you can get it to go, which at this point should be right about here. Once you get to this point, take your EGR and just feed it through the harnesses and out. And once you fed it through, you can just lift your intake manifold up and out. Pry up on your knock sensor harness caps, and then using a pair of needle nose pliers, preferably bent ones, you want to push in the sides of the harness and then pull up, and do the same thing to this side. And then your harness. Underneath that harness, your knock sensors are located right here. Using a 22mm socket, just remove the knock sensor you want to replace. On the left is the old knock sensor, on the right is the new one from 1A Auto. You can see they're identical and they'll fit exactly the same. Feed your new knock sensor down into place and just tighten it up. And we'll fast forward as Dawn does that. Push the harness back down onto the knock sensor and then replace the cap. And then replace the other end of the harness and that cap as well. Set your intake manifold back down into place. And then just feed this hose down and pull it out through the other side. Now disconnect your EGR by just pulling out on the clip with a flat blade screwdriver and just pulling the hose free. And then feed that hose through the side of your intake manifold. And then just maneuver it down and into place. And we're going to fast forward as Don continues to do this. You just have to move the cables and wires around until you can finally get it to set down. And it does take a second, but it will go down. Now reconnect this hose. And just using pliers, slide that hose clamp back up into place. And then reconnect this bracket. And you want to just line this up and push it back onto those studs. And then just replace those nuts. Take the EGR valve and push it back down into place. And then replace the bolt that holds it there. And then reconnect that hose. And reconnect your other hose to the top of the intake manifold. And replace this bracket. And replace the bolts that hold it into place. Reconnect this hose over here. And then replace this bracket and the bolts that hold it into place, and then just tighten those up. And then just replace each of these long 10mm bolts that line the side of your intake manifold. And then just tighten each of those up. And you can see that we use a variety of different extensions just to help get there. You can use a longer one for these ones, and then as you get further back you may need to use a shorter one. And it does help to have a flashlight too. Now just make sure you reconnect your fuel lines. And then put those clips back into place to lock them.
Okay, you want to torque the manifold bolts, start in the middle and go across, and then work your way around the manifold in a counterclockwise pattern. And you want to tighten them on the first pass to 44 inch-pounds and then 89 inch-pounds.
And now just reconnect each of your fuel injectors. You just want to push the harness in, then replace that clip and push it down into place. And we'll fast forward as Don does this to the other fuel injectors. Lower the intake hose back down into place. push it back, and then tighten up those 2 hose clamps. Double check that all your harnesses are connected and all the hoses are connected, and then replace your engine cover. And once you get it lined up, just replace that bolt and tighten it up. Then you're all set.
We hope this video helps you out. Brought to you by oneaauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.